It's draft week. Been wanting to do this video for a while, guys. This is the fourth time I'm trying to do this video. I've had some major internet problems today, but I'm trying to get a video out for you guys. Hopefully this works. But I wanted to highlight an awesome meme that I saw here. This is our fearless leader getting inked up. That was pretty hilarious. I had to, point it out. But again, we're going to get that bolt there and that Lombardi trophy, obviously the roses. He made a comment about getting, it's kind of addicting. You want to get some more things done, right? I thought it was pretty hilarious. But again, it just goes to show you what a stud this guy is. He said something about I'm impervious to pain. I love his little Harbaugh-isms, which are pretty amazing. So I want to talk about the draft. I want to talk about the draft trade up and trade down scenarios that could potentially affect the Chargers. I'm going to give you my prediction at the end of the video, but I'm also going to give you my idea of where we go with the offensive line, because I think there's a lot of things to be said about that. And who we pick at 5, what we do, what we don't do. There's a lot to discuss. It's going to be a little bit longer video. Hopefully it works out. If it doesn't work out, then I'm just going to go live here in a few minutes. So we'll see. Anyways, Andrew Bolpros, let's get into it. Bolpros! Okay, folks, as always, like and subscribe if you do enjoy the content. Andrew Bolpros. Again, we're all over the social medias. We're on the Twitters. We're on the TikTokies. We're on the Twitters, TikToks, the Gram, the Facebooks, all the above. But again, I just want to say what a stud muffin this guy is. Absolutely love the way he's approaching being head coach. Clearly, he's a leader of men, which is exciting. And, I'm excited to see what's going on with him. And this draft is going to be pretty exciting for us moving forward. But I want to talk about Joe Ortiz. James did a video yesterday about this. But I'm going to give you my take on Joe Ortiz. Joe Ortiz clearly is working very well with Jim Harbaugh. He talks a lot about getting, best available players. Well, the one thing I will say that Joe has specifically said that's absolutely 100% true is if you want best available player, you have to know that your team is ready to play today. I feel like the Chargers believe that they have a team that is ready to play today. Now, does it mean they have the best players at every single position? The answer is no, but the draft is about getting players for depth. Then after the draft, you get the undrafted free agents. We're going to do videos on all those guys. Then you have the UFL. Then you have free agency, because when people get drafted, they let veterans go. I'm going to talk about a couple today that I think could get let go right after the draft, or maybe even traded during the draft. So there's lots of ways of getting players into this team. Now, a couple things that he said here. We're going to take players that we deem to be Chargers, right? We all know that there's a toughness, there's a mentality that we're going after. The desire and the love for the game. It's a big part of these things, right? Those are all the abilities, things that they want. And this is from our folks at LAFB. If you get a chance to add a great player, you add them. Okay. You can only do that, folks, if you know your team is ready to play today. And I really do believe the team is ready to play today. You might say, wow, we got a crappy right tackle, all this and that. I'm going to talk more about that at the very end of the video, because there's a lot of ways you could look at this, folks. There really is. But again, you add them. That's how we're going to approach it. And again, I truly believe you just want to get the best available player. Now, again, yes, there are needs. We do know the wide receiver room is a little bit incomplete, as we know. But, folks, there's a lot of good players in this team, right? There's a lot of players we can get in free agency. There's a lot of things we can do moving forward. So don't worry too much about this. But, again, 5th pick. All right, so let's talk about trade up and trade down scenarios. I think this is where it gets very interesting. This video I've shot, again, 3 times, was around 30 minutes. So buckle up. It's going to be me monologuing a little bit. So hopefully it's valuable to you guys. Leave comments down below. The Cardinals, they are a dumpster fire, folks. I mean, they're just not good. Kyler Murray is a shitty quarterback. You know that. I know that. I'm not a huge fan of him. I just think he's sucky. Now, the reality is it looks to me like they're going to probably draft Marvin Harrison, which kind of pisses me off because I want the Chargers to draft Marvin Harrison. I'm just going to say this straight out. If Marvin Harrison's there at 5, let's say the Cardinals trade out, which is an option. There's rumors that the Vikings might want to trade up to him. Maybe even the Giants, right? Maybe they want JJ McCarthy. Maybe JJ McCarthy slips. Maybe, Drake May is not selected. You never know how it plays out, right? But there's a lot of things that are going to happen. He is the best player in the draft, period, right? I'm going to say that 100%. PFF ratings, everything you see about him, he is the best player. He beats double teams. He's absolutely incredible. I promise you, if we're at 5 and he's there, the Chargers will get him. I don't think he'll go past the Cardinals, but you never know. Like, the draft is always a bit of a crapshoot in that regard. Marvin Harrison is by far the best player. He's incredible. Now, Malik Neighbors, very good. Okay. Extremely good, right? The difference with Malik, and again, guys, there's rumors that he's a small town kid, potentially going to a very large town. Guys, we know there's Colombian Bam Bam all over LA, right? The nose candy, Mr. Snowman, all the above, whatever you want to say. Charlie. When I was in Europe, everyone kept saying, they go, Charlie. I was like, Charlie, what the hell are you talking about? Cocaine. Guys, it's cocaine. Okay. And look, you worry about this guy because, he's going to be very popular in LA. And, if the rumors are true, he could have some problems. I remember JC Jackson going into this last season, he was all over TMZ, and I kept thinking, oh my God, he's going to fall apart. Had a horrible year. Guy's probably not even going to be playing another snap in the NFL. I think that dude's career is done. Who knows what happened with him? But again, LA is not for everybody. It's a big city, small town kids. It's tough, right? So that's my concern with him, and I've seen people bring it up, so we'll see how that plays out, right? But you cannot deny his physical traits. This kid is incredible. Steve Smith actually has him over Marvin Harrison, which, he's a wide receiver, and his opinion is very valid, of course. But, I think Marvin Harrison is a little bit better than Malik in some ways. But anyways, I'll talk about another wide receiver that I like, of course, Roman Dunze, but we'll go from there. So my point is, if the Cardinals have not selected Marvin Harrison, I think the Chargers should get him. If not, I think the Chargers should get Malik Neighbors. Now, there is a chance we trade back, right? Well, I think the Giants are a team that might potentially want to trade back. That they do want a quarterback, right? They have Danny Dimes. Danny Dimes is, to put it mildly, a turd in the punch bowl, very similarly to what's that guy's name? Kyler Murray, in Arizona. Both those teams suck, right? Kyler Murray's paid way too much money. He's not that good. And you got the Giants who are paying Daniel Dimes $160 million. He sucks. He's not good. So they're very high on JJ McCarthy. If he's available, I think, there's a chance that they go after him. So I think there's something to be said about that specifically, right? I do think that there is a opportunity that they go after, a Danny, they get rid of him and then maybe go after, JJ McCarthy, trade up for him and go from there. So you have to look out for what the Giants are going to do. The Giants might do that, folks, right? So in my mock draft that I did on our live draft episode on Saturday, I did trade back with the Giants, then the Jets, and then I think the Broncos, right? So I did 3, which is a bit excessive, but that's what I did on my mock draft. So there's a lot to be said about him specifically, right? And again, this is the guy, right? This guy right here is huge. Again, he's the 4th major quarterback in the draft. You could argue Bo Nix, but Bo Nix is latter end of this of the first round, maybe beginning of the second. You'll see how that plays out. But JJ McCarthy, I really view him a lot as really the guy that's going to shake up this draft, right? Because it could go 1, 2, 3, 4. If the Cardinals do trade back, maybe the Giants trade up to the 4th spot, right? That could be very easy for them to do. And then they trade back, right? And then maybe we get an opportunity to get Marvin Harrison, right? Which I do think. I think the Chargers are going to go after Marvin Harrison. Harbaugh saw what Marvin Harrison did, and I think he goes from there. Now again, JJ McCarthy is a very good quarterback. Now, again, you could argue all day, was he really tested? Did he really, put his team on his back? But he made the throws when he needed to, guys. You know that. I know that. The NFL knows that. So I think there's a lot of teams that really want a quarterback like this. I know the Broncos did. Speaking of the Broncos wanted him for sure. But I'm going to say this, guys. We all know that there's been plenty of negotiation. Every team has called other teams, right? I promise you. And Joe Ortiz even said this. They are in talks with other teams that want to trade up. And the scenario goes as this, right? Let's say Drake May gets selected by the Commanders. Oh, crap. Well, do they want to get Jaden Daniels at pick 3 with the Patriots? They may not want him. They might say, well, we would rather have, JJ McCarthy. I think JJ McCarthy fits better for the Patriots than Jaden Daniels. So we'll see, right? I am very curious. Jaden Daniels is freaking skinny, very athletic, extremely skinny. I mean, he's so skinny, he's got to run around the shower to get wet. He's like 170 pounds. That's skinny, dude. That's really skinny. You got a 350-pound defensive lineman dry humping you up and down the field. Guys, that's not a good situation. The Broncos clearly tried to trade up or had calls. Nothing worked out. So guess what? They go out and get the MILF Hunter, a.k.a. Zach Wilson. Now, Zach Wilson, I'm going to say this about Zach Wilson. I see Zach Wilson exactly like a J.J. McCarthy. The difference, though, is mentally, I don't think he's as tough as a J.J. McCarthy. I think J.J. McCarthy did a much better job. I think he was coached a little bit better in Michigan. Again, he knew he went to BYU. You guys know I live in BYU or Utah, and I did watch a lot of BYU games. He had one really good year with BYU. He has a good arm, but he doesn't do anything special. The Broncos got a good quarterback, right? Now, I don't think they're going to trade up because I don't think they have enough draft capital to trade up. And I promise you that's why they went with him right now. Basically, they said, all right, well, let's go get him. He'll be good. My thought is the Broncos probably go after Bo Nix around 12. You got a quarterback room. See what he does and see what Bo Nix does. This guy can be a veteran. They can learn together. That's what I think will happen. But again, to be fair, a lot of Broncos fans hate this. That's Good Sport did a really great video on it. It's absolutely hilarious. I love watching his videos. But I'll be honest with you, he's not a very good quarterback. He's okay, but he's serviceable, right? And I think that's what Sean Payton needs. He had dipshit Russell Wilson who just sucks and wanted to go off script all the time. This guy will do exactly as Sean Payton wants. That's what he needs. So we'll see what happens. Now, I also think Bo Nix is very similar to McCarthy and also Zach Wilson. So my suspicion is that the Broncos will probably still select Bo Nix, but we'll see. Might be a bit of a stretch for them. Again, they don't have a lot of picks, so they're very light on draft capital, right? So, we'll see what happens. I mean, maybe they'll try up and make that happen. Who knows? We'll see what happens with that. But bottom line, there was all these rumors that they were going to try and trade the farm, Patrick Surtain, all these different people to just trade up, do whatever they possibly can to get a quarterback. But, people didn't bite on that, right? So especially at pick 5, when you can get a Marvin Harrison or a Malik Neighbors, come on. We need more than that, right? So an interesting one is the Bills. I like the Bills to trade up for a lot of reasons. Now, the Bills are interesting because, again, they lost Stephon Diggs. We all know Stephon Diggs is absolutely fantastic. We all know that he is an amazing wide receiver. They lost Gabe Davis. They did sign Curtis Samuel. Nobody cares. Anyways, they need to trade up. But again, they have 28th. They had 28th pick. Brian Thomas most likely will not be there from LSU. So they probably need to trade up. So maybe they put a package together and try to get Odunze or maybe even Brian Thomas, but he could make something. We'll see what happens. But something could happen, right? Again, I don't think Odunze will be there if they're not in the top 10 or top 12 or at least top 15. You never know if he starts slipping. But again, there's a lot to be said about the Bills trading up to get another elite weapon for Josh Allen. But we'll see what happens. Again, they're kind of like the Broncos. They don't have a ton of draft capital, but it could be interesting to see what ends up happening with the Bills. They need to make some moves. But I can see an Adonai Mitchell or maybe Xavier Worthy, something like that, maybe stepping in. Xavier Worthy is really small. I mean, he's a thin dude, right? So another one is the Jets, right? The MILF Hunter is no longer there. You got Aaron Rodgers. He's aging out, right? The other guy that might be going there is Bo Nix. The Jets might select Bo Nix, but they might want to trade up and maybe get a J.J. McCarthy. We'll see what happens. Jets have a great defense. Their offense is abysmal. Their offensive line is abysmal. You saw what happened with Zach Wilson was getting dry humped all last season. Say what you want to say about Zach Wilson. They have a horrible offensive line, and it's not working, right? So to me, the Jets are a team that, really needs a lot of work. So trading up would be very advantageous for them, but I don't know if they can make it happen. We'll see. But, some of these offensive linemen, maybe a Joe Alt, one of these guys, they could be someone they could go after, but it'll be interesting to see. Another one you could easily talk about is the Bears trading down from number 9, or maybe even trading up. We'll see what happens with that. They've been talking about Rome Odunze. Another one also that I'll say before I forget is the Rams trading up from number 19 for someone like a Byron Murphy or a Latu. There's a lot of discussion around that. They can trade up from number 19 and move some people up, right? So I think these are some of the ones that we need to sort of keep in the back of our minds as the draft is being executed, right? So, and again, another one I thought was really interesting is the 49ers. The 49ers, guys, we all know that Brandon Ayuk is not happy there, and he doesn't want to be there anymore, right? So he's disgruntled. He's frustrated. I think he could even be potentially traded on the day of the draft. I don't think that'll most likely happen, but it could. But they have picked 31, folks, and somebody that it looks to me like they're specifically trying to target someone like a Xavier Worthy, right? He was my guy in my mock draft. I like him. He's very fast, but we'll see what happens with him. Brandon Ayuk and Xavier Worthy are different types of wide receivers for sure, but I could see the Niners trading. Guys, they have an obscene amount of comp picks. I swear to God, like 5 or 6. It's crazy. And so they have a lot of comp picks that they can, package up and try to move up in the draft. And, who knows, right? But these conversations are happening, guys, right? So maybe in 20 or 15, they could try and trade back up, see if they can't get something, I promise you they're going to try and make some moves. So we'll see if any team bites on that, but we'll go from there. I mean, they definitely need to figure out something with Brandon Ayuk. We shall see. So this is where it gets interesting, and this is where my opinion starts to get a little more focused. Okay. I think the most likely trade down scenario for the Chargers would be with the Vikings. Now, I did mention Arizona, and I do mention the Chargers. I think both of those teams, the Vikings would most likely want to trade with. I think there's a chance they could trade with the Vikings. If Arizona could trade with the Vikings, could be the same thing with the Chargers, right? I think both of them are teams that could potentially do that because they have a lot of holes to fill. Now, again, that may sound a little bit contradictory to what I said at the beginning, that our team is ready to play. I think this team wants more depth, right? So if you trade back, you could get more depth. And the nice thing, I'm gonna break a couple scenarios down that I think could happen if we trade back. Again, it would only be one time. We're not going to trade back like I did on my mock draft. That was a bit excessive, but I think there's some things you could go after here. Again, it would be the 11th pick and it would be the 23rd overall pick. So you'd have 2 picks in the first round. And again, the Cardinals would want to do that because they're just a dumpster fire, right? And Kyler Murray I hate him. He's a turd in a punch bowl. Okay. I'm just going to say it. He sucks. I don't like him. Anyways, my point is, if you trade back with the Vikings, let's say the Chargers trade back. Now let's say if the Cardinals trade back, they probably would get JJ McCarthy. Then guess who would be there for us? Marvin Harrison Jr. Thank God. 5th pick, stick and pick. You take him and just let the rest work itself out. Folks, I'm telling you right now, Marvin Harrison Jr. is the man. He is the guy. He is it. You want him. If we were to take the trade with the Vikings and trade down 11th, let me go through some scenarios that I think make a lot of sense. Okay, again, JJ McCarthy is going to be the X factor in that conversation. I truly believe another person that could even trade up would be also the Jets. I think the Jets would maybe potentially want to have somebody as a successor for Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers clearly is getting a lot older, but JJ McCarthy could learn a lot from Aaron Rodgers. I kind of see him a lot like an Aaron Rodgers myself. Secondarily, I do think JJ McCarthy would fit very well into the Viking scheme. But the thing I would say about JJ McCarthy, again, is it will boil down to if he goes 1, 2, 3, and he's not in the 1, 2, 3, or like if Jaden Daniels slips, you got to wonder if the Vikings even want Jaden Daniels. I wouldn't want to, like, I'm biased, clearly. I wouldn't want a quarterback that's 170 some pounds. Like, the guy is just so skinny, he's got to run around the shower to get wet. That just doesn't work in the NFL. And again, JJ McCarthy is a good size, right? He needs to put on some more weight, but he's not a Justin Herbert, right? Justin Herbert can take some hits. So again, hypothetically speaking, we trade back at 11 and 23. Let's see what could potentially be there for us. This one is good. This guy has moved up my chart a lot more, and I like him a lot more at 11. I'm going to tell you why. Brock Bowers. He's 240. He helps in all 3 phases of the offense, right? Running game, passing game, right? Pass protection, run blocking. He can be a running back and he can be a wide receiver, right? So he has a lot of versatility. I like him at 11. If he were to slip to 11, which I think is very plausible. Plausible, is that the right word? Plausible? Possible. Not plausible. What am I saying? I'm having a little mental stroke over here, folks. I apologize. But this guy can be the guy that can control the middle of the field. He's amazing. I'm going to talk more about the running game with some of the pieces that we've already taken care of. And again, guys, when I say that I think we're ready to play today, I think we really are. I think we have a team that is fine, that we could play today if need be. The draft is all about adding more pieces to the puzzle and adding depth. This guy would be a day one amazing productive player that can help us get to the next level. Again, he helps in the passing game, helps in the running game, and he's just going to keep Justin Herbert and our running game moving the right direction. So I like this pick at 11. Another one that could be there for us is Rome Odunze. Again, it's a bit of a stretch. I don't think he'll make it to 11. Again, we talk about teams that would want to trade up, the Bills, maybe the Jets, all these other teams. I've even heard the Raiders want to move up to pick number 2, which I don't know, could happen. We'll see. The Raiders need a quarterback, so J.J. McCarthy might even be a guy to go to the Raiders, right? So we'll see what happens. I mean, who knows? Guys, who knows? But this guy right here is an absolute stud. Any of these 3 wide receivers, I would be so happy with. What do you think? Would you rather have Brock Bowers or Rome Odunze? Guys, to me, it's a toss-up. I like both. But again, we're going to be playing a lot of 12 personnel with 2 tight ends, and Brock Bowers helps in all 3 phases of the game, guys. And there's just a lot of things you can do, but this guy is electric as well. I'm such a fan of Rome Odunze. He could be there at 11. Bit of a long shot, but I think he could be there at 11. Now, another option, Tali Fuaga. Again, I don't want to talk too deeply about the running back room in the run game right now, but this guy is something special as far as run blocking, pass protection. Freaking stud muffin. Love him to death. I think he's absolutely incredible. And if he's there at 11, it'd be hard to pass up. Depends on Brock Bowers, depends on Rome Odunze. We'll see who slips, if we do the trade back. Again, I do think the trade back has a good chance of happening. I'd say 50-50 chance potentially that we want to trade back. The Chargers have been very vocal that they want to trade back. So I think something's going to be in place. Again, it just boils down to who's going to be on the board at that time. But this guy right here would immediately make your running game better, pass protection a ton better. He didn't even give up a single sack all last season. Absolutely incredible. This guy is something else. So, look, I wouldn't be mad if he was the guy picked. Again, if Brock Bowers or Rome Odunze is there, I think one of those 2 guys would be picked over him. But we shall see. I'm going to talk more about the running game, guys. I got some ideas on the offensive line. Another guy that could be there, not 11, maybe 23, would be Latham. I think this guy is an absolute stud. Another guy would be Mims from Alabama. Those guys are just gigantic human beings. Gigantic human beings. This dude right here, a lot of people even have him over Tali Fuaga, so he could slip, for various reasons, right? There's a lot of great wide receivers in this draft. So you could see stranger things have happened, right? And he could slip potentially. So, we'll see how that plays out moving forward, but he would be another great option if Tali Fuaga is not there, or maybe we take a Brock Bowers, or maybe Rome Odunze slips, and then potentially, slight chance he could be there for us at 23. Bit of a stretch, but we'll see what happens. So again, this is my general thoughts on that. Now, let me wrap up my final thoughts. This video is getting a little long. Actually, I'm doing a little bit better. I mean, I'm doing a lot better than I did, right? Maybe this is a good thing that this is the 4th time I'm filming this video. Anyways, that's why it's so late, internet problems, all the above. But let me wrap up my final thoughts. I do think there's a chance we trade back. I think it's a very high probability we trade back at 5. If Marvin Harrison's there at 5, I think we stick and pick. We take him and let the rest work out itself, and hopefully find more value in the draft. If we don't, if we trade back 11 and 23 with the Vikings, which I think sounds to me like is probably what's going to happen, then I think some of those other scenarios, play itself out. Now, let me say something about the offensive line. I think the offensive line is good enough. Now, you might say to me, Andrew, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. Pipkins sucks. Let me just say this. Rashawn Slater, all-pro left tackle. Fantastic. I think Bradley Bozeman is going to be a very good center for us. I think he was a very good signing, very cheap signing, nice veteran presence, and I do like Hymas as a backup. Pipkins is a serviceable right tackle. He's league average, right? So not too great, not too bad. Now, the one thing I'll say about Pipkins was left on an island in the offense. He was always by himself. He did not have good blocking tight ends. We have arguably 2 of the best blocking tight ends in the NFL, Will Dissly and Hayden Hurst. They are amazing blocking tight ends. When you run 12 personnel, you have your right tackle and your left tackle. You can easily double team the edge rusher, right? So he's going to make Pipkins better, right? Both of those guys are going to make Pipkins better. So you could get away with letting Pipkins still be the right tackle. My other thought was you can move Jamari Salyer to right tackle, maybe move Pipkins to guard, or maybe make Pipkins be the 6th offensive lineman, or maybe put even McFadden over there as well too, guys. You could use, there's a lot of mix and matching you can do. Jamar did a great job as a left tackle. He could move to right tackle. We'll see what happens. I personally think in camp, a lot of these things are going to be figured out and a lot of these things are going to be swizzled around. So I'm just saying this, guys, the offensive line is going to be moved around. So you don't need to have a Talisi Fuaga. You could maybe just potentially stick and pick and get that epic wide receiver that you could do great. And again, I still think at 5, if Marvin Harrison selected at 4, I think you still stick and pick and get a Malik Neighbors. I just do. They're just that good, right? Again, even with my concerns about his, off the field shenanigans or whatever could happen with him, Roman Dunze would be great as well too. Bottom line, guys, it's going to be very exciting to see what happens. I'm very curious to see, how this plays out in the draft. Folks, again, we are going to be going live on Thursday night for the draft. We're going to do more on Friday night and potentially also Saturday, so stay tuned. As always, Andrew Popros, see you guys in the next one.